BLUF Gaming here with a quick tutorial showing how to build the schooner in Atlas. Just take a look at your small shipyard and you'll see the schooner there if you have the skill. It takes fiber, metal, thatch, and wood, just like the sloop did. It's a bit larger than the sloop though. Instead of 12 planks, we're going to need 28, and instead of small planks, they'll need to be medium. You can replace up to 10 of those with gun ports, and while we're here, let's go ahead and make sure we have a loom and a forge. Inside, we have a smithy and a mortar and pestle. Back to the planks and the gun ports, we will be building those at the smithy. And they're rather expensive. It's going to take you a good while to collect all of this. First, let's look at the planks. As you can see, we need fiber, metal, thatch, and wood. And once we have 18 of those, we'll go ahead and do the ports as well. Make sure you're building the medium gun ports and not the larges. They are similar in construction to the planks, except they do use a bit more metal. Let's carry these out to the ship and see if we can't get our hull completed. Now that we have all the planks and the gun ports up here, let's go ahead and start placing them so we don't move at a snail's pace. The ribbing is 7 long in terms of planks, both on the top and the bottom, so we'll be needing to place all of our planks along the bottom, and then the middle 5 on the top row will be ports only. So let's go ahead and take care of the bottom first. Also, if you're ever around the corners of the ship, all of the corners front and back can be covered in planks. One nice thing about the small shipyard is that it does give you this scaffolding down below to help you flesh out the ship. And once we have 7 on both sides, we can move upstairs and finish out the top. Again, we're going to skip these middle 5. Go ahead and take care of the front, and that'll finish up our planks. It looks like there's already been a plank placed right there where the gun port belongs, but it's actually just a graphical bug. I'll go ahead and place these other 4 first, and then come back and correct that error. There we go. Let's get the port side, and then our hull will be complete. Perfect. Let's take a look inside. As you can see, we have plenty of room, and we have 5 ports on each side for cannons, which we can open just by pressing E. Not to worry, you can leave those open when sailing. Water will not go through unless of course you get into battle and something a lot bigger and more dangerous than your E button causes a breach. Now let's go get some more pieces of the ship. Just like with the sloop, we'll need to be placing a deck on the ship. However, this one needs medium decks instead of small decks, and we need 2 of them. We also need to get a steering wheel while we're here at the smithy. As you can see, it only takes wood, thatch, and fiber, and luckily for me, we already have one made right there. If you remember from building your first sloop that after placing the deck you had to place some ceiling tiles, you'll have to do the same again here. This time, instead of just a few that you need for the sloop, you need 32 altogether. That's quite a bit to carry, so I'm going to leave a lot behind, but we'll make a few trips to make sure we get all of them in. Let's go ahead and place our top deck, and you may be tempted to place your lower deck as well. However, I highly recommend you do not place it like I just did here. Instead, it's better to go ahead and place the ceiling tiles first and get your ladder going down. We'll cover that in a moment. Let's go grab the rest of those ceiling tiles. Now we're back with the rest of our ceiling tiles. Let's finish building out the upper deck. And just like with the sloop, we want to be sure that we leave an access hole that we can use to get in and out of the lower deck. I like to use a wooden ladder and a doorway, so let's go ahead and change the type to wood ceiling doorway here. And the remaining ones will just be regular ceiling. I went ahead and brought a door and a wooden ladder that we can use here. However, because we placed that lower deck first, we're going to have some clipping issues that don't allow us to place the ladder where we want it. That doesn't mean it's impossible, however, so what we can do is demolish the lower deck, place the ladder, and then we'll just have to build a new deck. But not to worry, we get half of our resources back whenever we demolish something. Now we should be able to place our ladder. And on top of the ladder, we can place this wooden door. I don't recommend having the door hinge down on the same area as the ladder, because then sometimes they have trouble interacting with each other and you may not be able to use the one you want. So I usually have a sideways hinge door like the one I placed. Time to get that other deck. And while we're here, let's take a look at the loom. This is where all our sails are made and our rope ladders. And as you can see, I already have a couple of sails made. If you aren't aware of how the sail system works in these ships, you have 4 points on a schooner that you can use to allocate sails. Small sails take 1 point each, medium sails take 1.7, and large sails take 2.7. That means we can use 4 smalls, or we can use 2 mediums, or 1 medium and 2 smalls, or we could use 1 large and 1 small. I'll be using a medium handling sail and 2 small speed sails. Once we have the sails and the steering wheel placed, we'll be ready to sail. However, we'll probably want to have some defensive system up first so we don't go out and get caught unawares. As you can see, we were able to place our lower deck right over the ladder just like we wanted. And now let's get our sails down. Since we have one that's larger than the others, why don't we put that one down in the middle, and you can see it's saying it requires the 1.7 sail units. That leaves us with 2.3 units remaining that we can use to place these 2 small speed sails. Perfect. Don't forget to put down the wheel before we go. I like to have a wheel very close to one of the masts so that if I don't have a crew member or another friend on the ship to control the mast, I'll be able to reach it from the wheel. Not a bad looking ship. We could release now and sail around as a very large sloop essentially. However, we wouldn't have any weapons to defend ourselves. So let's quit gawking, go grab a cannon or 2, and see if we can't make this a true ship. Cannons are also made at the smithy, however you do need alloy in order to make the cannons. Alloy is made at the forge from all of the metal that you've been gathering, as well as a few other small ingredients. The cannon's no good without ammunition, so we're also going to bring an ammunition box and some cannonballs. As you can see, we need the alloy right there, as well as a few other ingredients, and there is a large cannon also that you could put on the schooner. However, the large cannon can only be placed on the upper deck. It can't use the gun ports. The mortar and pestle is where we make the gunpowder for all the cannonballs, and finally find a use for the coal that we've been finding. The alloys of course are made here in the forge, And if we take a look inside the inventory, we can see the materials we need to make whatever alloy we happen to have metal for. Now that we're back at the ship, let's climb down and see how we're going to manage our defenses. I only brought one cannon to use as an example. If you want to see a fully loaded schooner, just stay tuned for the rest of the video. Also, we're going to place this ammo box down. Without an ammo box, the cannons have nowhere to get their ammunition from. Just place all of your cannonballs in the ammo box, and when you hover over it, it shows you an inventory. The cannon we place here next to the gun port, and now we can climb up and finally release this vehicle out into the sea. That's your bottom line up front. If you'd like to see a lot more detail on how we build this schooner, outfit it, and even take it out to fight some of those undead out there, just stick around for the rest of the details. Thanks for sticking around. Now let's go in a bit more detail and build ourselves a schooner from the bottom up. We're standing at the small shipyard that we've used to make a sloop before. However, before we commit to a schooner, let's make sure we're comfortable with the amount of space in the water down here, as we don't want to ram it into a rock as soon as we release it from the small shipyard. It looks pretty good to me, so now let's go look at the inventory of the shipyard to see what we need to do to actually build the schooner's ribbing. Here we can see that the schooner requires quite a bit of fiber, some metal, thatch, and wood. We can go ahead and double click on this once we have the materials stored there, and the ribbing will be built right next to us, as well as the scaffolding to access all the parts of the ribbing while we put it together. Here we are back at the smithy, where we'll be making all the planks and the gun ports to finish the hull. As you can see, the planks take 480 fiber, 420 thatch, 480 wood, and a bit of metal as well. They're quite expensive. The gun ports also take a similar amount of materials, however, quite a bit more metal. Let's go ahead and take these 18 planks back to the ship, and we can come back for the gun ports in a few minutes. Now let's go ahead and place them. Just like we said before, you can place planks on all of the corners, both in the front and the back. And then the entire lower deck will be nothing but planks all the way down. First, let's finish up the front. And all the remaining planks will be just for the lower deck. There we go. Now let's go take a look up top. As you can see, we still have the 5 empty slots on both sides where we'll be putting gun ports. A quick trip back to the smithy for our gun ports. They are a bit pricier than the planks, primarily because of the metal. However, they do require a bit more wood as well. We'll be taking 10 of those back. And now we can finish up our hull. Now that we're back at the smithy, let's grab our decks. And as you can see, they take 200 thatch, 280 wood, and 110 fiber. Not quite as expensive as the other pieces we've been adding so far. Let's go ahead and add our upper deck, but as you're well aware, we don't want to add the lower deck until we've already started placing some other tiles first. Let's go fetch some ceiling tiles and then we'll get building. Just like before, we're going to place the ceiling tiles all the way around and all the way down the middle, with the exception of one slot where we'll be leaving a space for a ladder and a door. Let's go ahead and place the ladder here, and since we haven't built a lower deck, we shouldn't have any trouble placing this ladder down. There we go. A door on top will finish it off, and then we can go below decks to put in the lower deck. Perfect. Let's take a look. All we need now are 10 cannons, some crew, and maybe a bit of storage. Before the cannons though, let's go ahead and finish up the absolute essentials. We can't do anything at all unless we have a steering wheel, and of course we're going to need some sails as well. This time, let's put on a large sail as well as a small sail. That'll give us a total of 3.7 sail points. I like the handling sails as they give us the most maneuverability against the wind, so let's do both a large handling sail and a small handling sail. Even the large sails aren't terribly expensive, so feel free to experiment with the different types of sails on your ship. You can demolish them after you've put them on, and you don't have to necessarily put sails on and off while it's in the small shipyard. You can do it after you've set sail. We might as well grab some rope ladders while we're here at the loom, and keep in mind that this is a rather tall ship compared to the sloop. You can get onto a rope ladder from the water, however it's much easier to get on 2 rope ladders end on end. Let's put 2 of the rope ladders back here in the rear. And also, we'll put 1 on each 4-quarter of the ship. We'll extend them down 2 like we said earlier, and that'll make getting on these rope ladders a lot easier, especially in choppy water. Just in case you've never used one of these rope ladders before, you should know that if you hold down E on the ladder menu, you can retract the ladder, and this is very useful to keep unwanted passengers off board. This may come as a surprise to you, but there are some people out there who would like to get on your ship and do harm. Now let's finally put the sails on this ship. We're going to start with the small handling sail. We're going to put that as far up in the front as we can put it. Maybe we'll back off a little bit. Far in the front looks good to me. That leaves us 3 points, which is enough for our large sail. The large sail is going to take 2.7, and we're going to put this one in the rear. We do have our steering wheel on us, so we can place that down as well. But I just want to get a good look at the difference in sizes of those first. Quite a big difference. As I normally do, I put a steering wheel within reach of one of the masts just in case I have to control it myself. And taking a hold of the wheel, we get a good look at this ship, and boy is that large sail a monster compared to the small one. I like it. Rather than have you wait for me running back and forth, I took the liberty of building a container and putting all of the cannons down here so we can get these out pretty quickly. Cannons can be a little bit difficult to place sometimes. Just be sure to have them in different slots in your toolbar, and whenever you're placing it, just because you see a hologram doesn't mean that it can be placed. Just be sure that you're aiming at the ground and it should place fine. Now we can finish up with our final cannon, as well as an ammo box and our cannonballs. If you don't have an ammo box, they aren't going to be able to reload the cannons. And whenever you hover over the ammo box, you can see a summary of all of the ammo inside of it. Currently we have 30 medium cannonballs. We should probably get a few more if we're going to go to combat. While we're down here, I thought I should mention that you can interact with the sails while you're below decks. This is pretty important just in case you have someone in your crew who's a bit squeamish whenever it comes to combat. As you can see, when you open one of the gun ports, the cannon does slide out a bit, and because we don't have to worry about water coming through, I think it looks a lot cooler to have these open. So let's go ahead and open them and intimidate all those hammerhead sharks that have been giving us such a hard time all these days. Well, we've waited long enough. Let's set the sails and release this ship into the water. We might need a little bit more ammo before we go into combat, and we'll definitely need some crew, but it's time this baby hits the water. I am in awe of the size of that sail. What an absolute unit. What a chungus. Honestly, that really is a big sail. I'm impressed. Well, we're not going to be able to man all these cannons ourselves. I think it's necessary at this point that we go to the nearest free port and hire a bunch of crew. We'll need 1 per sail, plus 10 for the cannons. That's 12 crew altogether. Oh yeah, and a screenshot doesn't hurt either. It wasn't easy. I had to defeat several bugs that the devs haven't treated yet that were causing these guys to get stuck. But finally, I have all of the crew I need for this ship. Just in case you haven't watched my sloop tutorial specifically about sailing with crew, you may not be aware that to hire a crew member costs 5 gold, and they also want a wage of 1 gold over a period of time. It can be as short as 1.5 hours, but as you level up accommodation on your ship, they'll work for longer for that gold coin. You can just put those gold coins in their inventory, and they'll take their wage out as time goes by. If you see a cannon or a sail that you want to be manned by a nearby crew member, Just make sure it's in your focus and then press comma and you'll whistle one of them over. It's pretty obvious whenever a cannon has been manned. However, sometimes whenever you tell a crew member to man a mast or a sail, it's not incredibly apparent that they're actually doing their job. What you really need to do is get to the steering wheel and see if you can control those sails to determine whether or not they're actually being manned. I have 13 out of 14 ship crew here. I count as 1, and then we have 2 for the masts, and then we have 10 more for the cannons. Once we pull the anchor, we can hold shift and then press A and D to turn our sails left and right. They will only turn if they're manned, so if you can't see where a crew member went and you want to check if a sail is actually manned, that's one way you can check it. Also, you can press W and S, forward or backward, to change how open the sails are, W increasing how open they are, and S closing the sails. As you can see, our crew member who's manning the rear sail is enjoying a nice seat on the rail, yet somehow is still able to turn the sail. The front sail, however, is manned by someone who apparently just wants to cling to the side and have cannons fly through his legs. I don't understand, but just know that your crew members on sails can end up in some very strange places. Now, what fun would all of this work making these two schooners have been if we weren't actually going to go see them in action? So let's go find some undead ships and see if we can't sink them or have them sink us. I picked up some extra ammo on the way out here, and now I have a feeling we're getting close to some action. Right over there is a merchant ship, and it's usually not too far from there that I see undead ships in this area. No, don't worry, merchant. I'm not after you. I'm looking for the undead. Oh look, we found one. Perfect timing. Time to test out these cannons. Hey, where'd he go? There we go. Perfect target. A lone undead ship. Unprotected by his friends. Just me versus him. Mano a mano. So our goal is going to be to broadside him and shoot all 5 cannons at once. You can hold left click to aim, and that will show you a trail of all of your cannons so that you know where you're about to fire. Wait a second, where'd that one come from? 2 shouldn't be too bad. I could probably take 2. Wait a second, where'd the 3rd one come from? This is not good, but it's too late to back out now. Let's see just how well we can do. If we die, we die. What's the worst that could happen? It's not like we're going to become undead ourselves, right? Oh, here come the first incoming. Oof! What a hit. But wait till you see this. You're gonna regret the day you attacked me, ship of the damned. Very nice. Looks like they may have been taking some friendly fire as well. Oh, this isn't looking good. I'm having trouble getting our broadside over there. Ooh, what a hit. Yeah, I think I can take that one out. Just give me another shot. It's hard to aim and both keep your sails aligned at the same time. So it's a really good idea to have other friends with you whenever you're doing this. Hey, we took one down. If it had been 1 versus 1, we would have won for sure. You can see we have a notification under our ship icon saying that our ship is sinking. It could be that we've lost a plank and we just need to replace it. However, now is not the time to replace it. Perhaps if we had some other real players on the ship, we'd be able to, but it's just me and the Undead. No time for repairs now. Only time for killing. That level 17 is tough. I think it's going to be too tough. Hopefully we can sink one more, but our chances of sinking all three are not looking good. So close. Will we have time? Can we sink one last ship? Yes! Now we can die with honor. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please comment or like to let me know. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Of course, you could dislike as well. But if you dislike, well, I'll drag you down with me into this water and feed you to these sharks. This has been Bottom Line Up Front. See you on the high seas.